Andrew Lloyd Webber's son, Nicholas Lloyd Webber, dies at 43 of stomach cancer. Andrew Lloyd Webber confirmed Saturday that his son Nicholas Lloyd Webber had died at the age of 43. The renowned composer delivered the news a week after he revealed that his son had been hospitalized with stomach cancer. I am shattered to have to announce that my beloved elder son Nick died a few hours ago in Basingstoke Hospital, Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote Saturday in a statement shared on social media. His whole family is gathered together, and we are all totally bereft. On Thursday, the EGOT winner missed the opening night of his new musical Bad Cinderella on Broadway in order to be with his ailing son. He was also absent for preview performances of the show, which is now playing at the Imperial Theatre after premiering on London's West End in 2021. Nicholas Lloyd Webber, who followed in his father's footsteps as a composer and record producer, was diagnosed with stomach cancer more than a year ago. I am absolutely devastated to say that my eldest son Nick is critically ill, Andrew Lloyd Webber told Playbill last weekend. As my family and friends know, he has been fighting gastric cancer for the last 18 months and Nick is now hospitalized. We are all praying that Nick will turn the corner. He's bravely fighting with his indomitable humor, but at the moment my place is with him and the family. In addition to his music and theater industry endeavors, Nicholas Lloyd Webber was known for his work on films, ad campaigns, and TV series such as Grey's Anatomy. He also collaborated with his father on various musical and theatrical projects, including stage productions of The Little Prince, Fat Friends, as well as a Cinderella concept album. Nicholas Lloyd Webber is survived by his wife, Polly Wiltshire, and siblings, Imogen, Isabella, William, and Alistair Lloyd Webber. Lloyd Webber was known for scoring the BBC One drama Love, Lies and Records and the film The Last Bus, directed by Gillis MacKinnon and starring Timothy Spall and Phyllis Logan. He wrote a theatrical and symphonic version of The Little Prince based on the book by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, co-written by James D. Reid, which premiered at the Lyric Theatre Belfast and Theatre Calgary before headlining the Abu Dhabi Music and Arts Festival with the Heritage Orchestra. He also composed the music for the 2017 music Fat Friends the Musical, which premiered at the Grand Theatre in Leeds and subsequently toured the UK in 2018. A second UK tour, planned for 2022, was postponed. Lloyd Webber also wrote music 56 Up, the 8th installment of the documentary series that began with 7 Up for children's television and for television advertisements. At the age of 14, Lloyd Webber was the tape operator on Sunset Boulevard world premiere recording, the album of the 1993 original London production of his father's musical. Lloyd Webber produced the Andrew Lloyd Webber Symphonic Suites at the Theatre Royal, Drury Lane in London, released by Decca Records in 2021. He co-produced and mixed the pre-production concept album of the musical Cinderella for Polydor Records, which went to number 1 in the official UK compilation album charts in July of 2021. Nick Lloyd Webber was the son of British composer Andrew Lloyd Webber and his first wife, Sarah Hugel. His older sister is the author, broadcaster, and communications executive Imogen Lloyd Webber. His grandfather was the organist, composer, and music educator William Lloyd Webber, and his uncle, the cellist and musical educator Julian Lloyd Webber. Lloyd Webber married his partner, viola player Polly Wiltshire, in June 2018. He was the father of 2 children. Surrounded by his family, Lloyd Webber died at the age of 43 on 25th of March 2023 at Basingstoke Hospital after suffering from gastric cancer for 18 months. Andrew Lloyd Webber, Baron Lloyd Webber, born 22 of March 1948, is an English composer and impresario of musical theatre. Several of his musicals have run for more than a decade, both in the West End and on Broadway. He has composed 21 musicals, a song cycle, a set of variations, 2 film scores, and a Latin Requiem Mass. Several of his songs have been widely recorded and were successful outside of their parent musicals, such as Memory from Cats, The Music of the Night and All I Ask of You from The Phantom of the Opera, I Don't Know How to Love Him from Jesus Christ Superstar, Don't Cry for Me Argentina from Evita, and Any Dream Will Do from Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. In 2001, the New York Times referred to him as the most commercially successful composer in history. The Daily Telegraph ranked him the 5th most powerful person in British culture in 2008, and lyricist Don Black writing, Andrew more or less single-handedly reinvented the musical. He has received a number of awards, including a knighthood in 1992, followed by a peerage for services to the arts, 6 Tonys, 3 Grammys, as well as the Grammy Legend Award, an Academy Award, 14 Ivor Novello Awards, 7 Oliver Awards, a Golden Globe, a Brit Award, the 2006 Kennedy Center Honors, the 2008 Classic Brit Award for Outstanding Contribution to Music, and an Emmy Award. He is one of the 18 people to have won an Oscar, an Emmy, a Grammy, and a Tony. He is a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, is an inductee into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and is a fellow of the British Academy of Songwriters, Composers, and Authors. His company, the Really Useful Group, is one of the largest theatre operators in London. Producers in several parts of the UK have staged productions, including national tours of the Lloyd Webber musicals under license from the Really Useful Group. Lloyd Webber is also the president of the Arts Educational Schools London, a performing arts school located in Chiswick, West London. He is involved in a number of charitable activities, including the Elton John AIDS Foundation, Nordhoff Robbins, Prostate Cancer UK, and War Child. In 1992, he started the Andrew Lloyd Webber Foundation, which supports the arts, culture, and heritage of the UK. In 2014, he designed a Cats-themed Paddington Bear statue, which was auctioned to raise funds for the National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. Lloyd Webber studied at the Royal College of Music. In 2014, he received an honorary doctorate from the college for his contribution to musical life. Andrew Lloyd Webber was born 22 March 1948 in Kensington, London, the elder son of William Lloyd Webber, a composer and organist, and Jean Hermione Johnston, a violinist and pianist. His younger brother, Julian Lloyd Webber, is a world-renowned solo cellist. Lloyd Webber started writing his own music at a young age, a suite of 6 pieces at the age of 9. He also put on productions with Julian and his Aunt Viola in a toy theater, which he built at Viola's suggestion. His Aunt Viola, an actress, took him to see many of her shows and through the stage door into the world of theater. His father enrolled him as a part-time student at the Eric Gilder School of Music in the spring of 1963. At this time, he was working on a Genghis Khan musical called Westonia, and he had also set music to Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats. In 1965, Lloyd Webber was a Queen's Scholar at Westminster School and studied history for a term at Magdalen College, Oxford, although he abandoned the course in the winter of 1965 to study at the Royal College of Music in London and pursue his interest in musical theatre. In 1965, when Lloyd Webber was a 17-year-old budding musical theatre composer, he was introduced to the 20-year-old aspiring pop songwriter Tim Rice. Their first collaboration was The Likes of Us, a musical based on the true story of Thomas John Barnardo. They produced a demo tape of that work in 1966, but the project failed to gain a backer. Although composed in 1965, The Likes of Us was not publicly performed until 2005, when a production was staged at Lloyd Webber's Sinminton Festival. In 2008, amateur rights were released by the National Operatic and Drama Association, NODA, in association with the Really Useful Group. The first amateur performance was by a children's theatre group in Cornwall called Kids Are Us. Stylistically, The Likes of Us is fashioned after the Broadway musical of the 1940s and 1950s. It opens with a traditional overture comprising a medley of tunes from the show, and the score reflects some of Lloyd Webber's early influences, particularly Richard Rodgers, Frederick Loewe, and Lionel Bart. In this respect, it is markedly different from the composer's later work, which tends to be either predominantly or wholly through composed, and closer in form to opera. In the summer of 1967, Alan Doggett, a family friend of the Lloyd Webbers who had assisted on The Likes of Us and who was the music teacher at the Collett Court School in London, commissioned Lloyd Webber and Rice to write a piece for the school's choir. Doggett requested a pop cantata along the lines of Herbert Chappell's The Daniel Jazz and Michael Hurd's Jonah Man Jazz, both of which had been published by Novello and were based on the Old Testament. The request for the new piece came with a 100 guinea advance from Novello. This resulted in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, a retelling of the biblical story of Joseph, in which Lloyd Webber and Rice humorously pastiched a number of pop music styles, such as Elvis's style rock and roll, calypso, and country music. Joseph began life as a short cantata that gained some recognition on its second staging with a favorable review in the Times. For its subsequent performances, Rice and Lloyd Webber revised the show and added new songs to expand it to a more substantial length. Continued expansion eventually culminated in a 1972 stage musical, and then a 2-hour-long production being staged in the West End in 1973, on the back of the success of Jesus Christ Superstar. In 1969, Rice and Lloyd Webber wrote a song for the Eurovision Song Contest called Try It and See, which was not selected. With rewritten lyrics, it became King Herod's song in their third musical, Jesus Christ Superstar, in 1970. Debuting in Broadway in 1971, by 1980 the musical had grossed more than $273 million worldwide. Running for over 8 years in London between 1972 and 1980, it held the record for longest-running West End musical before it was overtaken by Cats in 1989. The planned follow-up to Jesus Christ Superstar was a musical comedy based on the Jeeves and Wooster novels by P.G. Wodehouse. Tim Rice was uncertain about this venture, partly because of his concern that he might not be able to do justice to the novels that he and Lloyd Webber so admired. Rice backed out of the project, and Lloyd Webber subsequently wrote the musical Jeeves with Ryan Akeburn, who provided the books and lyrics. Jeeves failed to make any impact at the box office and closed after a run of only 38 performances in West End in 1975. Many years later, Lloyd Webber and Akeburn revisited this project, producing a thoroughly reworked and more successful version entitled By Jeeves in 1996. Andrew Lloyd Webber's son, Nicholas Lloyd Webber's last words before he died. It's easy to cry when you realize that everyone you love will reject you or die.